Thank you for joining us today for We Know Their Names, a virtual Srebrenica commemoration. My name is Ida Sefer, and I serve as the president of the board for the Bosnian American Genocide Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to research and education pertaining to the genocides that occurred in Bosnia and in the Balkans. We have gathered virtually today to honor the victims and survivors of the genocide in Srebrenica that occurred in 1995, from July 11th through July 22nd. Where 8,373 Bosnian Muslims, primarily men and boys, were executed in the Srebrenica region of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And every year on July 11th, we recognize this day as a day of mourning as we commemorate the Srebrenica genocide. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide. To fully contextualize the story of the Srebrenica genocide, we must look back to the spring of 1992. When the war and genocide began in Bosnia and Herzegovina. After the death of Yugoslavia's primary leader, Josip Broz Tito, Islamophobic ethno-nationalism escalated throughout Yugoslavia for well over a decade before the citizens of Bosnia declared independence. As Slovenia and Croatia declared independence, the leadership and weaponry of the Yugoslav National Army became centralized in Serbia. The Islamophobic rhetoric and warmongering concerned many residents of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which led to a push for sovereignty in 1991. However, after a lack of recognition by the European Economic Community, the citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina held a referendum for independence from the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia in spring of 1992 to validate the population's need for independence. With a voter turnout larger than 60%, 99.7% of voters agreed to an independent Bosnia and Herzegovina. The population of Bosnia and Herzegovina was historically very diverse in ethnic and religious composition, which included populations who held a firm belief in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and many others who did not align themselves to a faith at all. Out of the 4 million residents, Muslim Bosnians, often referred to as Bosniaks, made up about 44% of the population, in comparison to 31% of Christian Orthodox Serbs and 17% of Catholic Croats who were also residents and citizens of Bosnia. On April 6, 1992, the Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina received recognition from the European Economic Community and the United States as an independent nation. The creation of an independent Bosnian nation that would have had Bosnian Muslims, Bosniaks, as a majority was opposed by many ethno-nationalist Bosnian Serbs, who launched a military campaign with the support of the Serbian government and the Yugoslav National Army. Their primary goal was to secure the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina and to terrorize the Muslim civilian population through organized concentration camps, physical, emotional, and sexual torture, which included sexual assault, trafficking, enslavement, and forced birthing, dehumanization, the erasure of the Bosnian Muslim identity, history, and language, expulsion and theft of property, deprivation of resources, starvation, and planned and organized execution of men, women, children, and the elderly. What began with the shelling of Sarajevo on April 6, 1992, spread throughout Bosnia from concentration camps in larger cities to absolute annihilations of entire family trees in smaller villages. After 3 years of occupation, and after being designated a safe area by the United Nations in 1993, Srebrenica was overrun in July of 1995 by Bosnian Serb forces led by General Ratko Mladic. With no resistance from UN peacekeepers, Bosnian Serb militia began to systematically separate families and communities by separating the Bosniak men and boys from the women and girls. The men and boys were rounded up and taken to various execution and torture sites, where they were killed en masse and buried in 94 different mass grave sites. Some women and girls were taken to never be seen again, while others were sexually assaulted and were prevented from seeking help when they were forcibly impregnated. Young children and the elderly were not exempt from this violence. As the youngest victim, Fatima Muhic, was less than a day old when she died, while Saha Izmirlic was 94 years old when she died. According to the International Commission of Missing Persons, 563 children and 60 women were murdered in Srebrenica. The international community, represented by the United Nations peacekeeping forces, failed to protect the 8,373 men, women, children, and the elderly from being brutally murdered, all while the victims were misled into believing that they would receive protection in the event of an ambush. The brutality of the Srebrenica genocide is unfathomable. The perpetrators, after executing primarily men and boys, would later return with heavy machinery to dig up the mass graves, to disperse the remains of the victims at multiple grave sites in order to conceal the evidence of the genocide. And many victims' remains were often found in 3 to 4 mass graves as a result. Many families would have a funeral to only a year later, or even a decade later, have to exhume the body of the victim to add the additional remains to the burial. The aftermath of the Srebrenica genocide left deep scars on Bosnia and Herzegovina. According to the International Commission of Missing Persons, of the 8,373 who were murdered in Srebrenica, 7,017 have been identified via their DNA, while there are over 1,000 still missing. To date, 6,772 people have received a proper burial in Srebrenica. This year, 7 additional victims were buried. Senaid Avdic, Haris Mujic, Rifet Gabelic, Hasib Omerovic, Sedalia Alic, Amir Mujcic. Over the 3-year span of the genocidal occupation of Bosnia, 2 million people were displaced, 100,000 people were murdered, 80% of whom were Muslims. Between 20,000 and 50,000 women were sexually assaulted. Over 30,000 people, including men, women, children, and the elderly, were imprisoned in concentration camps. The DNA evidence and the courageous testimony of survivors, some who still face threats of violence and discrimination in Bosnia, efforts towards justice were primarily executed through the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia and the International Courts of Justice, as they both recognized what happened at Srebrenica was a genocide. 20 individuals have been tried at the ICTY. 57 appeared before the State Court of Bosnia and Herzegovina, resulting in 4 life sentences and 38 other sentences due to DNA identification. While accountability has been the primary hurdle for reconciliation, the annual commemoration of the Srebrenica genocide stands as a solemn occasion to remember and mourn the victims and stand in solidarity with victims and survivors. For the last 30 years, thousands of Bosnian diaspora community members have taken the time to recognize July 11th away from Srebrenica as a day of mourning and remembrance. Some even through city, state, and country proclamations and resolutions. Last year, the UN General Assembly designated July 11th as the International Day of Reflection and Commemoration of the 1995 genocide in Srebrenica. These commemorations of the Srebrenica genocide on July 11th hold profound significance, not only for the victims and their families, but also for other victims and survivors of the genocide in Bosnia, whose perpetrators have escaped accountability. Over the next few days, you will hear a number of volunteers from around the world who have taken the time to read the names of all of the Srebrenica genocide victims. While you may not know these names personally, we want you to take the time to listen and/or read the names being recited. You may hear the same name multiple times, and that is not in error. These are all individuals who died during the Srebrenica genocide. The genocide in Srebrenica, which culminated in July of 1995, was not an isolated event, but the final chapter in a broader campaign of systemic persecution and violence against Bosnian Muslims over the period of 3 years. The genocide in Bosnia serves as a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the devastating consequences of ethnic hatred. And as a community of genocide survivors, we must have a collective commitment to truth-telling, justice, and accountability in the face of genocide denial. As we have seen time and time again, how it is impacting our current political system. And we cannot do that without recognizing the devastating effects of mass imprisonment and enslavement of the Uyghurs, the destructive invasion of Ukraine, the state-sponsored violence in Syria, the genocide of the Tigray in Ethiopia, the devastating violence in Sudan, and the frightening use of military power to imprison innocent refugees and immigrants in the United States. And of course, the longest modern day and internationally sponsored occupation and genocide of the people of Palestine. As a community of survivors, we cannot stay silent as others are dehumanized and violence against them is argued as justified and acceptable retaliation. There is no justified retaliation against a civilian population. July 11th is vital in preserving the historical record and countering denial and revisionism. By remembering and documenting the atrocities committed during the Srebrenica genocide, we confront the past and reject any attempts to distort or deny the truth. It stands as a collective commitment to truth-telling, justice, and accountability. And the first truth that must be spoken is a name. And with this act, we will know all 8,373 of their names. Thank you.
My name is Jasmina Čekrić. Today I will be reading the names of 100 victims who were murdered during genocide in Srebrenica. Mujo Begić, 51 years old. Bajro Bektić, 28 years old. Zikrija Begić, 31 years old. Esid Bektić, 31 years old. Ibrahim Begović, 61 years old. Asim Begović, 22 years old. Seydaliya Begić, 34 years old. Enver Bektić, 24 years old. Salih Begić, 54 years old. Esad Bektić, 37 years old. Azra Begzatić, 38 years old. Nejad Begić, 21 years old. Muradif Begić, 60 years old. Aliya Bektić, 58 years old. Rifet Begović, 27 years old. Zugdija Begzadić, 64 years old. Suvad Bekrić, 16 years old. Javad Bektić, 28 years old. Sabahudin Begić, 23 years old. Hayrodin Begzadić, 41 years old. Hamed Bekrić, 18 years old. Ibrahim Begović, 60 years old. Mehmet Begović, 36 years old. Ibrahim Begović, 78 years old. Bahrudin Begović, 22 years old. Damir Begović, 20 years old. Ezedin Beksatić, 25 years old. Suljo Begić, 67 years old. Vahid Bekrić, 21 years old. Semko Begić, 28 years old. Sulejman Begović, 25 years old. Sead Begović, 35 years old. Cemal Bektić, 15 years old. Ekrem Beksatić, 20 years old. Huso Begović, 37 years old. Nazir Begić, 22 years old. Enver Bektić, 26 years old. Avdija Begović, 25 years old. Esed Bektić, 53 years old. Ferid Bektić, 23 years old. Bekto Bektić, 55 years old. Mirsad Beksatić, 27 years old. Esad Bektić, 19 years old. Bayro Bektić, 20 years old. Edhem Bektić, 54 years old. Šačir Begić, 77 years old. Muharrem Begović, 55 years old. Alen Beksatić, 17 years old. Ahmo Bektić, 50 years old. Elvis Beksatić, 19 years old. Avdo Begović, 68 years old. Amil Beksatić, 54 years old. Shaban Beksatić, 37 years old. Ismet Begović, 55 years old. Šefik Begić, 37 years old. Salko Beksatić, 38 years old. Ševko Begić, 55 years old. Vahid Begić, 22 years old. Meho Bekrić, 18 years old. Huso Begović, 66 years old. Mujo Begović, 35 years old. Ahmo Begović, 41 years old. Hurrem Begović, 71 years old. Necip Begović, 28 years old. Vekaz Begić, 31 years old. Salko Begić, 63 years old. Samir Begic, 18 years old. Bekir Bektic, 53 years old. Hakia Bektic, 40 years old. Fikret Bektic, 39 years old. Bayra Bektic, 40 years old. Sual Begovic, 21 years old. Meho Begic, 49 years old. Jalil Bektic, 26 years old. Nusret Begic, 38 years old. Hussein Begovic, 48 years old. Senad Begic, 22 years old. Rasim Bekric, 45 years old. Selman Bekric, 48 years old. Mehmed Ali Begic, 41 years old. Eyüp Bektic, 30 years old. Eyüp Bektic, 30 years old. Adem Bektic, 54 years old. Zilja Begic, 57 years old. Kasim Begovic, 19 years old. Shaban Begic, 41 years old. Ramiz Begic, 66 years old. Jamal Bektic, 35 years old. Shaban Bekzadic, 43 years old. Zain Begic, 37 years old. Nusret Begic, 30 years old. Murad Begic, 51 years old. Abid Bektic, 43 years old. Pasha Begic, 58 years old. Hashim Begovic, 36 years old. Mevludin Begic, 17 years old. Jamal Bektic, 19 years old. Behaya Bekzadic, 28 years old. Shahman Bekzadic, 73 years old. Samir Begic, 18 years old. Mehmed Ali Begic, 36 years old.
My name is Elina. Today I will be reading 100 names of victims who were murdered during the genocide in Srebrenica. Halit Bektic, 24 years old. Hamdia Bektic, 18 years old. Hamed Bektic, 55 years old. Hamed Bektic, 58 years old. Hassan Bektic, 49 years old. Haso Bektic, 41 years old. Himzo Bektic, 55 years old. Hussein Bektic, 55 years old. Hussein Bektic, 63 years old. Huso Bektic, 57 years old. Ibrahim Bektic, 26 years old. Ibrahim Bektic, 61 years old. Ibra Bektic, unknown age at death. Ismet Bektic, 67 years old. Izet Bektic, 57 years old. Yusuf Bektic, 50 years old. Kadria Bektic, 21 years old. Kadria Bektic, 31 years old. Kasim Bektic, 34 years old. Kiran Bektic, 18 years old. Kiran Bektic, 42 years old. Mehdin Bektic, 18 years old. Mensur Bektic, 22 years old. Mevlid Bektic, 33 years old. Midhat Bektic, 20 years old. Mirsad Bektic, 17 years old. Mujo Bektic, 18 years old. Mujo Bektic, 43 years old. Munib Bektic, 42 years old. Munib Bektic, 43 years old. Munib Bektic, 45 years old. Muris Bektic, 30 years old. Nasir Bektic, 22 years old. Nazif Bektic, 41 years old. Nezir Bektic, 31 years old. Nezir Bektic, 37 years old. Rama Bektic, 19 years old. Rama Bektic, 35 years old. Rama Bektic, 55 years old. Rama Bektic, 58 years old. Rasim Bektic, 22 years old. Recep Bektic, 45 years old. Rashid Bektic, 27 years old. Rizo Bektic, 37 years old. Sabahuddin Bektic, 33 years old. Sabit Bektic, 23 years old. Sakip Bektic, 35 years old. Sead Bektic, 43 years old. Shechan Bektic, 41 years old. Seydalia Bektic, 36 years old. Senahit Bektic, 34 years old. Sheval Bektic, 25 years old. Suad Bektic, 17 years old. Suad Bektic, 28 years old. Suleiman Bektic, 45 years old. Tai Bektic, 56 years old. Zilgia Bektic, 53 years old. Esad Bešić, 35 years old. Fehim Bešić, 42 years old. Hamed Bešić, 34 years old. Izo Bešić, 30 years old. Mevludin Bešić, 52 years old. Salih Bešić, 61 years old. Salko Bešić, 31 years old. Bajro Beširović, 32 years old. Bego Beširović, 43 years old. Šemsudin Beširović, 20 years old. Hanka Bešlija, 65 years old. Yusuf Bešlija, 75 years old. Osman Bičić, 46 years old. Sabahuddin Bitinović, 23 years old. Sevludin Bitinović, 25 years old. Zijad Blažević, 33 years old. Zaim Bogilović, 48 years old. Bayazid Borić, 21 years old. Jevad Borić, 17 years old. Hasip Borić, 49 years old. Izet Borić, 30 years old. Yasmin Borić, 16 years old. Muradif Borić, 53 years old. Ramo Borić, 40 years old. Suljo Borić, 38 years old. Emir Bogorovac, 21 years old. Alija Bošnjak, 54 years old. Amir Bošnjak, 18 years old. Nuria Bošnjak, 27 years old. Amer Bošnjaković, 13 years old. Meho Bošnjaković, 49 years old. Himzo Bosno, 37 years old. Admin Brdarevic, 18 years old. Alija Brdarevic, 68 years old. Hamed Brdarevic, 32 years old. Said Brdarevic, 26 years old. Taib Brdarevic, 59 years old. Vahid Brdarevic, 29 years old. Enver Brgulja, 39 years old. Reshid Brgulja, 66 years old. Ramo Brkic, 46 years old. Ismet Budic, 31 years old. Mujo Budic, 37 years old.
My name is Aurora, and today I'll be reading 100 names of victims who were murdered during the genocide in Srebrenica. Ohran Budic, 38 years old. Selim Budic, 16 years old. Sulejman Budic, 40 years old. Velija Budic, 15 years old. Alija Budovic, 50 years old. Bajro Budovic, 55 years old. Mehmet Budovic, 34 years old. Dževad Buhić, 22 years old. Razim Buhić, 17 years old. Šerif Buhić, 55 years old. Avdija Buljubašić, 43 years old. Bajro Buljubašić, 47 years old. Bego Buljubašić, 26 years old. Durmo Buljubašić, 48 years old. Elvir Buljubašić, 20 years old. Fahrudin Buljubašić, 23 years old. Hamdija Buljubašić, 39 years old. Haris Buljubašić, 17 years old. Hasan Buljubašić, 57 years old. Mirsad Buljubašić, 26 years old. Safet Buljubašić, 17 years old. Senad Buljubašić, 19 years old. Zogdija Buljubašić, 55 years old. Adem Bumbulović, 33 years old. Džemal Bumbulović, 30 years old. Dževad Bumbulović, 23 years old. Elver Bumbulović, 22 years old. Fikret Bumbulović, 19 years old. Hasib Bumbulović, 62 years old. Hussein Bumbulović, 35 years old. Idris Bumbulović, 36 years old. Izzet Bumbulović, 16 years old. Yunus Bumbulović, 62 years old. Nermin Bumbulović, 17 years old. Niyaz Bumbulović, 33 years old. Shevat Bumbulović, 19 years old. Shukriya Bumbulović, 31 years old. Zogda Bumbulović, 52 years old. Ahmo Burić, 42 years old. Dahmo Burić, 39 years old. Edin Burić, 18 years old. Juso Burić, 37 years old. Kema Burić, 24 years old. Mehmet Burić, 30 years old. Meho Burić, 67 years old. Mustafa Burić, 31 years old. Nihad Burić, 21 years old. Niyaz Burić, 17 years old. Nuria Burić, 47 years old. Omer Burić, 57 years old. Rifet Burić, 26 years old. Adis Čakanović, 21 years old. Chazim Chekanovic, 57 years old. Hazim Chekanovic, 31 years old. Irfan Chekanovic, 46 years old. Mehmedalia Chekanovic, 72 years old. Salim Chekanovic, 35-year-old. Ramis Chakar, 50 years old. Sheriff Chakishic, 70 years old. Ahmed Chamdic, 36 years old. Bekto Chamdic, unknown age at death. Beshar Chamdic, 73 years old. Enis Chamdic, 31 years old. Habib Chamdic, 19 years old. Hamed Chamdic, 34 years old. Hussein Chamdic, 41 years old. Ibra Chamdic, 61 years old. Muradiv Chamdic, 36 years old. Niyaz Chamdic, 17 years old. Ramis Chamdic, 27 years old. Reshid Chamdic, 24 years old. Samir Chamdic, 19 years old. Shukriya Chamdic, 29 years old. Zogda Chamdic, 55 years old. Hamed Chano, 34 years old. Nermin Chano, 20 years old. Ramesh Chano, 42 years old. Aljad Chardakovic, 17 years old. Ashad Chardakovic, 20 years old. Behadil Chardakovic, 34 years old. Irfan Chardakovic, 21 years old. Rasim Chardakovic, 67 years old. Bekir Čatić, 56 years old. Faruk Čatić, 17 years old. Yunus Čatić, 53 years old. Mihail Čatić, 26 years old. Mehmedalia Čatić, 55 years old. Nihat Čatić, 26 years old. Omer Čatić, 38 years old. Sabrija Čatić, 41 years old. Šemsa Čatić, 41 years old. Halil Čavčić, unknown age at death. Hasip Čavkušić, 51 years old. Ibrahim Čavkušić, 45 years old. Ismet Čavkušić, 23 years old. Ismet Čavkušić, 58 years old. Sabi Čavkušić, 35 years old. Ševko Čavkušić, 31 years old. Murat Čedić, 49 years old. Aljo Čehajić, 44 years old.
My name is Danina Sulemanovic. Today I'll be reading 100 names of victims who were murdered in the genocide in Srebrenica. Chazim Čehajić, 38 years old. Hasib Čehajić, 44 years old. Izzet Čehajić, 17 years old. Murat Čehajić, 38 years old. Nuria Čehić, 41 years old. Bego Čelebić, 50 years old. Ermin Čelebić, 18 years old. Hayrudin Čelebić, 19 years old. Ibish Čelebić, 57 years old. Nejad Čelebić, unknown age of death. Rejo Čelebić, 60 years old. Huso Čelik, 54 years old. Ibrahim Čeliković, 42 years old. Meho Čeliković, 47 years old. Mirsa Čeliković, 21 years old. Ramo Čeliković, 39 years old. Shaban Čeliković, 46 years old. Sulejman Čeliković, 31 years old. Alio Čemo, 67 years old. Remzija Čemo, 39 years old. Miralem Čengić, 60 years old. Avdija Čerimović, 49 years old. Fadil Čerimović, 26 years old. Huso Čerimović, 32 years old. Meho Čerimović, 36 years old. Muja Čerimović, 57 years old. Nezir Čerimović, 59 years old. Omer Čerimović, 38 years old. Osman Čerimović, 56 years old. Rahman Čerimović, 56 years old. Senahid Cherimovic, 24 years old. Zulfa Cherimovic, 46 years old. Mevludin Chesko, 34 years old. Mirzet Cevic, 17 years old. Nevzet Cevic, 14 years old. Resho Cevic, 62 years old. Azmir Čikaric, 19 years old. Besim Čikaric, 48 years old. Elvir Čikaric, 18 years old. Habib Čikaric, 61 years old. Hayrudin Čikaric, 22 years old. Haris Čikaric, 43 years old. Ismail Čikaric, 60 years old. Nusret Čikaric, 40 years old. Rifet Čikaric, 33 years old. Seyad Čikaric, 26 years old. Senad Čikaric, 32 years old. Uzeyir Čikaric, 67 years old. Ahmedin Čivić, 19 years old. Azem Čivić, 17 years old. Bekto Čivić, 61 years old. Daud Čivić, 31 years old. Elvir Čivić, 20 years old. Emir Čivić, 19 years old. Fadil Čivić, 39 years old. Hamed Čivić, 43 years old. Hamza Čivić, 41 years old. Hedib Čivić, 52 years old. Hidin Čivić, 35 years old. Hussein Čivić, 49 years old. Ibrahim Čivić, 81 years old. Idris Čivić, 61 years old. Idris Čivić, 75 years old. Kadria Čivić, 27 years old. Mehmed Alija Čivić, 59 years old. Muamer Čivić, 19 years old. Mujo Čivić, 19 years old. Mustafa Čivić, 23 years old. Mustafa Čivić, 63 years old. Nazif Čivić, 41 years old. Nazif Čivić, 42 years old. Nuria Čivić, 40 years old. Omer Čivić, 33 years old. Ramo Čivić, 46 years old. Rashid Čivić, 66 years old. Sabrija Čivić, 62 years old. Safet Čivić, 36 years old. Safet Čivić, 54 years old. Senusija Čivić, 34 years old. Shukriya Čivić, 49 years old. Suljo Čivić, 57 years old. Ziyad Čivić, 29 years old. Meho Čizmić, 59 years old. Mersad Čizmić, 20 years old. Shevko Čizmić, 64 years old. Avdija Cocalić, 25 years old. Esad Čočalić, 38 years old. Hussein Cocalić, 28 years old. Mihad Cocalić, 20 years old. Mirsad Cocalić, 21 years old. Mirsad Cocalić, 24 years old. Ramiz Cocalić, 25 years old. Semir Cocalić, 24 years old. Ibrahim Čočić, 62 years old. Šećan Čočić, 32 years old. Vahdet Čočić, 28 years old. Šačir Čohaderović, 68 years old. Selmo Čohaderović, 53 years old. Elvir Čokerović, 19 years old. Fezet Čokerović, 40 years old.
My name is Selma Simić Merdan. Today, I will be reading the names of 100 victims who were murdered during the genocide in Srebrenica. Neđa Čokerović, 26 years old. Nijaz Čokerović, 32 years old. Rifet Čokerović, 21 years old. Ziyad Čokerović, 16 years old. Azem Čomić, 39 years old. Bahrudin Čomić, 21 years old. Bajro Čomić, 44 years old. Meho Chomic, unknown age at death. Mirfet Chomic, 16 years old. Mirzet Chomic, 17 years old. Mujo Chomic, 37 years old. Nusret Chomic, 45 years old. Omer Chomic, 49 years old. Shaban Chomic, 69 years old. Salih Chomic, 75 years old. Suad Chomic, 27 years old. Suleiman Chomic, 56 years old. Chazim Josic, 35 years old. Mehmed Alija Josic, 45 years old. Meho Josic, 43 years old. Meho Josic, 56 years old. Nurif Josic, 67 years old. Safet Josic, 39 years old. Mensur Čumurović, 31 years old. Nazif Čumurović, 57 years old. Behaja Cvrk, 47 years old. Dževat Cvrk, 22 years old. Hajro Cvrk, 39 years old. Hajrudin Cvrk, 23 years old. Hasan Cvrk, unknown age at death. Haso Cvrk, 40 years old. Ismet Cvrk, 53 years old. Izet Cvrk, 50 years old. Meho Cvrk, 33 years old. Mensur Cvrk, 21 years old. Mirsad Cvrk, 22 years old. Mujo Cvrk, 58 years old. Munib Cvrk, 46 years old. Munir Cvrk, 21 years old. Musemir Cvrk, 18 years old. Nejad Cvrk, 25 years old. Nurif Cvrk, 26 years old. Nuria Cvrk, 59 years old. Omer Cvrk, 18 years old. Osman Cvrk, 16 years old. Ramiz Cvrk, 36 years old. Rešid Cvrk, 63 years old. Šaha Cvrk, 76 years old. Selim Cvrk, 57 years old. Halil Dagić, 52 years old. Ramo Dahalić, 67 years old. Meho Dardagan, 40 years old. Azem Dautbašić, 39 years old. Aziz Dautbašić, 31 years old. Bajro Dautbašić, 49 years old. Damir Dautbašić, 18 years old. Esed Dautbašić, 58 years old. Hasan Dautbašić, 21 years old. Jakub Dautbašić, 39 years old. Yunus Dautbašić, 43 years old. Kiram Dautbašić, 47 years old. Muhammed Dautbašić, 26 years old. Muharrem Dautbašić, 41 years old. Muris Dautbašić, 19 years old. Šačir Dautbašić, 44 years old. Sead Dautbašić, 28 years old. Senad Dautbašić, 28 years old. Ševket Dautbašić, 29 years old. Ziad Dautbašić, 18 years old. Abdullah Dautović, 36 years old. Alaga Dautović, 65 years old. Alija Dautović, 55 years old. Azem Dautović, 33 years old. Azem Dautović, 36 years old. Bahrija Dautović, 31 years old. Beriz Dautović, 40 years old. Duda Dautović, 71 years old. Edin Dautovic, 17 years old. Esad Dautovic, 25 years old. Esed Dautovic, 42 years old. Esed Dautovic, 42 years old. Halil Dautovic, 41 years old. Hasan Dautovic, 43 years old. Hedin Dautovic, 17 years old. Juso Dautovic, 58 years old. Mehmet Dautovic, 56 years old. Mujo Dautovic, 66 years old. Nezir Dautovic, 26 years old. Niyaz Dautovic, 28 years old. Osman Dautovic, 42 years old. Ramo Dautovic, 56 years old. Rasim Dautovic, 52 years old. Rejo Dautovic, 58 years old. Rešid Dautovic, 64 years old. Shaban Dautovic, 49 years old. Salih Dautovic, 38 years old. Šefik Dautovic, 32 years old. Ševko Dautovic, 43 years old. Čamil Dedajic, 58 years old. Galip Dedajic, 45 years old.
My name is Emina Smailagic. Today I will be reading the names of the 100 victims who were murdered during the genocide in Srebrenica. Adem Dedic, 28 years old. Alim Dedic, 18 years old. Bego Dedic, 59 years old. Čamil Dedic, 55 years old. Čazim Dedic, 40 years old. Džemil Dedic, 33 years old. Edin Dedic, 19 years old. Eyüp Dedic, 43 years old. Esad Dedic, 33 years old. Fadil Dedic, 37 years old. Hamdija Dedić, 30 years old. Hamed Dedić, 38 years old. Hussein Dedić, 70 years old. Huso Dedić, 62 years old. Ibrahim Dedić, 29 years old. Mehmedalija Dedić, 31 years old. Mevludin Dedić, 21 years old. Munib Dedić, 29 years old. Mustafa Dedić, 32 years old. Nezir Dedić, 16 years old. Osman Dedić, 39 years old. Ramiz Dedić, 21 years old. Ređo Dedić, 35 years old. Šačir Dedić, 35 years old. Šačir Dedić, 55 years old. Samir Dedić, 16 years old. Sejdalija Dedić, unknown age at death. Selim Dedić, 40 years old. Šerif Dedić, 20 years old. Sulejman Dedić, 18 years old. Zaim Dedić, 25 years old. Sadik Delalić, 27 years old. Salko Delalić, 29 years old. Suljo Delalić, 18 years old. Abdurrahman Delić, 63 years old. Adnan Delić, 17 years old. Ahmet Delić, 58 years old. Ahmo Delić, 54 years old. Alija Delić, 51 years old. Alija Delić, 59 years old. Avdo Delić, 31 years old. Abdullah Delić, 30 years old. Azem Delić, 25 years old. Aziz Delić, 33 years old. Bayazid Delić, 60 years old. Began Delić, 40 years old. Bumediyen Delić, 22 years old. Chamil Delić, 20 years old. Chamil Delić, 53 years old. Dahmo Delić, 27 years old. Jemail Delić, 26 years old. Eyüp Delić, 34 years old. Ekrem Delić, 36 years old. Elvir Delic, 16 years old. Enes Delic, 41 years old. Enis Delic, 20 years old. Enver Delic, 20 years old. Ermin Delic, 17 years old. Fahrudin Delic, 23 years old. Ferid Delic, 43 years old. Fikret Delic, 23 years old. Hayrudin Delic, 27 years old. Hamdia Delic, 23 years old. Hamdia Delic, 36 years old. Hasan Delic, 19 years old. Hasan Delic, 41 years old. Hasan Delic, 65 years old. Hasib Delic, 23 years old. Haso Delic, 44 years old. Hazim Delic, 23 years old. Hussein Delic, 43 years old. Ibrahim Delic, 43 years old. Ibrahim Delic, 60 years old. Ibro Delic, 36 years old. Ibro Delic, 46 years old. Ismet Delic, 46 years old. Izet Delic, 24 years old. Jakub Delic, 21 years old. Yasmin Delic, 21 years old. Yasmin Delic, 29 years old. Yusuf Delic, 25 years old. Yusuf Delic, 60 years old. Kadria Delic, 19 years old. Kadria Delic, 51 years old. Mahmud Delic, 21 years old. Mehmet Delic, 26 years old. Mehmet Delic, 45 years old. Mehmet Delic, 55 years old. Mehmedalia Delic, 24 years old. Meho Delic, 33 years old. Mevlad Delic, 19 years old. Mevludin Delic, 39 years old. Mevludin Delic, 40 years old. Mirsad Delic, 20 years old. Mirsad Delic, 23 years old. Mujo Delić, 61 years old. Munir Delić, 32 years old. Munira Delić, 77 years old. Munira Delić, 83 years old. Mustafa Delić, 44 years old.
Hello, my name is Adna Mujevic, and today I'll be reading the names of 100 victims who were murdered during the genocide in Srebrenica. Nazif Delić, 60 years old. Nazir Delić, 30 years old. Nuria Delić, 44 years old. Nurko Delić, 56 years old. Ohran Delić, 40 years old. Ohran Delić, 64 years old. Omer Delić, 59 years old. Omer Delić, 62 years old. Ramo Delić, 52 years old. Ramo Delić, 54 years old. Rešo Delić, 55 years old. Sabahuddin Delić, 20 years old. Sabit Delić, 25 years old. Sabit Delić, 51 years old. Sabriya Delić, 20 years old. Sadik Delić, 18 years old. Safet Delić, 21 years old. Safet Delić, 24 years old. Safet Delić, 36 years old. Safet Delić, 39 years old. Safet Delić, 56 years old. Shahbaz Delić, 18 years old. Saad Delić, 29 years old. Saad Delić, 30 years old. Saad Delić, 34 years old. Shafik Delić, 19 years old. Saifullah Delić, 57 years old. Selim Delić, 60 years old. Selman Delić, 19 years old. Selma Delić, 55 years old. Sanahid Delić, 28 years old. Sinaid Delić, 20 years old. Suljo Delić, 20 years old. Suljo Delić, 72 years old. Taib Delić, 29 years old. Taufik Delić, 19 years old. Vahidin Delić, 26 years old. Velid Delić, 39 years old. Zeho Delić, 60 years old. Ziad Delić, 34 years old. Zilhad Delić, 24 years old. Feyzo Delić, 62 years old. Mehmed Delić, 69 years old. Ramo Delić, 51 years old. Sabahuddin Delić, 25 years old. Behara Jalilović, 72 years old. Rashid Jalilovic, 28 years old. Hazim Deli Mustafic, 21 years old. Almaz Demirovic, 35 years old. Ibrahim Demirovic, 45 years old. Imer Demirovski, 36 years old. Nurko Dervishagic, 26 years old. Ahmed Dervishevic, 53 years old. Ahmedin Dervishevic, 21 years old. Bego Dervishevic, 53 years old. Behadil Dervishevic, 44 years old. Behrudin Dervishevic, 15 years old. Bekto Dervishevic, 17 years old. Bekto Dervishevic, 30 years old. Fahro Dervishevic, 20 years old. Hayrudin Dervishevic, 59 years old. Ibrahim Dervishevic, 36 years old. Ibrahim Dervishevic, 54 years old. Idris Dervishevic, 60 years old. Yunus Dervishevic, 24 years old. Mehmedalia Dervishevic, 39 years old. Nazir Dervishevic, 55 years old. Niyaz Dervishevic, 18 years old. Rahman Dervishevic, 58 years old. Rejo Dervishevic, 52 years old. Rafik Dervishevic, 24 years old. Rifat Dervishevic, 42 years old. Sabahuddin Dervishevic, 30 years old. Shaban Dervishevic, 60 years old. Sakib Dervishevic, 27 years old. Sayad Dervishevic, 17 years old. Sanahid Dervishevic, 30 years old. Sanuddin Dervishevic, 14 years old. Wahdat Dervishevic, 25 years old. Meho Jikanovic, 42 years old. Mustafa Jikanovic, 40 years old. Seydalia Jikanovic, 63 years old. Shuhrat Jikanovic, 36 years old. Ekrem Djilovic, 44 years old. Mustafa Djilovic, 42 years old. Elvedin Divovic, 18 years old. Hakia Divovic, 49 years old. Ibrahim Divovic, 61 years old. Kadria Divovic, 54 years old. Omer Divovic, unknown age. Salko Divovic, 46 years old. Bego Dizdarevic, 45 years old. Bego Dizdarevic, 57 years old. Hayra Dizdarevic, 65 years old. Haso Dizdarevic, 47 years old. Hedib Dizdarevic, 57 years old. Hussein Dizdarevic, 40 years old. Huso Dizdarevic, 41 years old. Mehmed Dizdarevic, 27 years old. Mehmed Dizdarevic, 65 years old.
Is Semir Hasajic, to the names of 100 victims who were murdered during the genocide in Srebrenica. Mehmedalia Dizdarevic, 35 years old. Mujo Dizdarevic, 53 years old. Omer Dizdarevic, 20 years old. Salchin Dizdarevic, 63 years old. Sjechan Dizdarevic, 18 years old. Salvedin Dizdarevic, 16 years old. Senaid Dizdarevic, 33 years old. Ahmo Jogas, 44 years old. Aljo Jogas, 25 years old. Hayrudin Jogas, 40 years old. Hamed Jogas, 52 years old. Meido Jogas, 45 years old. Meido Jogas, 45 years old. Mudin Jogas, 21 years old. Nusret Jogas, 35 years old. Omer Jogas, 19 years old. Sabahudin Jogas, 20 years old. Salchin Jogas, 58 years old. Salko Jogas, 33 years old. Samir Jogas, 18 years old. Seyad Jogas, unknown age at death. Suleiman Jogas, 46 years old. Vahid Jogas, 23 years old. Amir Dokic, 28 years old. Abdullah Jojic, 66 years old. Alia Jojic, 22 years old. Asim Jojic, 46 years old. Beris Jojic, 18 years old. Edhem Jojic, 50 years old. Elvir Jojic, 21 years old. Elvir Jojic, 23 years old. Esad Jojic, 22 years old. Fuad Jojic, 30 years old. Herula Jojic, 53 years old. Hamid Jojic, 57 years old. Hedib Jojic, 33 years old. Hursto Jojic, 61 years old. Izzet Jojic, 37 years old. Kiram Jojic, 38 years old. Mefal Jojic, 36 years old. Mensur Jojic, 29 years old. Mensur Jojic, 60 years old. Mesud Jojic, 34 years old. Mevlid Djodjic, 21 years old. Mirsad Djodjic, 18 years old. Mustafa Djodjic, 31 years old. Ramiz Djodjic, 38 years old. Sadik Djodjic, 40 years old. Saib Djodjic, 21 years old. Semir Djodjic, 18 years old. Senahid Djodjic, 43 years old. Sevket Djodjic, 44 years old. Teofik Djodjic, 49 years old. Hayrudin Dubicic, 37 years old. Kadria Dudevic, 23 years old. Alija Dudic, unknown age at death. Asem Dudic, 33 years old. Hasmir Dudic, 20 years old. Huso Dudic, 65 years old. Ibro Dudic, 26 years old. Yunus Dudic, 67 years old. Yusuf Dudic, 63 years old. Mehad Dudic, 34 years old. Mehmedalia Dudic, 32 years old. Mevlid Dudic, 25 years old. Mustafa Dudic, 43 years old. Niazia Dudic, 22 years old. Remzia Dudic, 20 years old. Sadik Dudic, 31 years old. Shamso Dudic, 69 years old. Smile Dudic, 36 years old. Ziad Dudic, 21 years old. Avdo Dugalic, 67 years old. Chamil Dugonjic, unknown age at death. Enes Dugonjic, 20 years old. Hazika Dugonjic, 45 years old. Yunus Dugonjic, 48 years old. Shefik Dugonjic, 24 years old. Nuria Julakovic, 45 years old. Alija Durakovic, 20 years old. Alija Durakovic, 62 years old. Aziz Durakovic, 17 years old. Bayro Durakovic, 43 years old. Emin Durakovic, 30 years old. Emir Durakovic, 22 years old. Halil Durakovic, 41 years old. Husa Durakovic, 31 years old. Ismet Durakovic, 51 years old. Yunus Durakovic, 41 years old. Mehmet Durakovic, 47 years old. Meho Durakovic, 28 years old. Miralim Durakovic, 45 years old. Mujo Durakovic, 58 years old. Muni Durakovic, 42 years old. Mushan Durakovic, 20 years old. Mushan Durakovic, 25 years old. Nasser Durakovic, 24 years old. Omer Durakovic, 38 years old. Refik Durakovic, 25 years old. Salih Durakovic, 55 years old.
28 years old. Suljo Durakovic, 26 years old. Zulfo Durakovic, 53 years old. Ibrahim Duric, 37 years old. Mumin Duric, 66 years old. Rasim Duric, 27 years old. Salim Duric, 57 years old. Dževad Durmišević, 33 years old. Admir Džananović, 19 years old. Azem Džananović, 20 years old. Beriz Džananović, 37 years old. Damir Džananović, 22 years old. Jara Džananović, unknown age at death. Džemal Džananović, 44 years old. Džemal Džananović, 54 years old. Džemal Džananović, 57 years old. Dževad Džananović, 22 years old. Edhem Džananović, 67 years old. Esed Džananović, 37 years old. Khalid Džananović, 24 years old. Hamed Džananović, 32 years old. Hasan Džananović, 26 years old. Hasib Džananović, 62 years old. Hussein Džananović, 39 years old. Ibrahim Džananović, 37 years old. Ibrishim Džananović, 35 years old. Juso Džananović, 55 years old. Mehmed Džananović, 59 years old. Mesud Džananović, 33 years old. Mevlid Džananović, 39 years old. Mevludin Džananović, 30 years old. Mirzet Džananović, 26 years old. Mujko Džananović, 34 years old. Mujo Džananović, 20 years old. Mustafa Džananović, 18 years old. Mustafa Džananović, 35 years old. Mustafa Džananović, 43 years old. Nejad Džananović, 22 years old. Nezir Džananović, 63 years old. Nezir Džananović, 63 years old. Nezir Džananović, unknown age at death. Ragib Džananović, 56 years old. Ramiz Džananović, 65 years old. Ramo Jananovic, 27 years old. Rasim Jananovic, 45 years old. Rejo Jananovic, 20 years old. Rifet Jananovic, 33 years old. Rismet Jananovic, 22 years old. Shaban Jananovic, 36 years old. Salih Jananovic, 40 years old. Shehad Jananovic, 24 years old. Sevlet Jananovic, 18 years old. Shukriya Jananovic, 33 years old. Zikret Jananovic, 34 years old. Ahmo Janic, 59 years old. Atif Janic, 53 years old. Edin Janic, 29 years old. Esad Janic, 27 years old. Esed Janic, 23 years old. Eshef Janic, 43 years old. Esnaf Janic, 23 years old. Fahrudin Janic, 35 years old. Fikret Janic, 26 years old. Khalid Janic, 53 years old. Ismet Janic, 42 years old. Yahya Janic, unknown age at death. Yusuf Janic, 48 years old. Latif Janic, 35 years old. Mesud Janic, 25 years old. Mevludin Janic, 35 years old. Mevludin Janic, 42 years old. Mursad Janic, 40 years old. Nermin Janic, 21 years old. Ramiz Janic, 43 years old. Ramiz Janic, 49 years old. Ramo Janic, 20 years old. Rashid Janic, 54 years old. Rifet Janic, 34 years old. Safet Janic, 43 years old. Zirhad Janic, 24 years old. Haris Jebo, 18 years old. Mehmed Jebo, 88 years old. Nusret Jebo, 62 years old. Osman Jebo, 36 years old. Janan Jakic, 64 years old. Muhammad Jakic, 48 years old. Atif Djinovic, 56 years old. Asim Efendic, 30 years old. Avdo Efendic, 28 years old. Azem Efendic, 18 years old. Azem Efendic, 57 years old. Bahrudin Efendic, 20 years old. Bekir Efendic, 22 years old. Chamil Efendic, unknown age at death. Jamal Efendic, 47 years old. Cevad Efendic, 25 years old. Edhem Efendic, 46 years old.
My name is Arnela. Today I will be reading the names of 100 victims who were murdered in the genocide in Srebrenica. Edhem Efendic, 56 years old. Faiza Efendic, 20 years old. Hakia Efendic, 48 years old. Hamed Efendic, 47 years old. Hasib Efendic, 64 years old. Yusuf Efendic, 53 years old. Mehan Efendic, 62 years old. Mehmet Efendic, 63 years old. Mehmedaliya Efendic, 38 years old. Meliha Efendic, 8 years old. Mesha Efendic, 63 years old. Mesud Efendic, 20 years old. Mesud Efendic, 23 years old. Mevludin Efendic, 19 years old. Mevludin Efendic, 26 years old. Nazir Efendic, 54 years old. Rashid Efendic, 47 years old. Salih Efendic, 55 years old. Salko Efendic, 58 years old. Shefik Efendic, 20 years old. Shefik Efendic, 22 years old. Sanahid Efendic, 35 years old. Shevko Efendic, 55 years old. Ahmo Ejubovic, 21 years old. Alija Ejubovic, 40 years old. Alija Ejubovic, 48 years old. Amir Ejubovic, 17 years old. Avdo Ejubovic, 20 years old. Azem Ejubovic, 49 years old. Behadil Ejubovic, 32 years old. Eyüp Ejubovic, 19 years old. Fadil Ejubovic, 32 years old. Khalid Ejubovic, 17 years old. Hasan Ejubovic, 39 years old. Hava Ejubovic, 75 years old. Ibrahim Ejubovic, 47 years old. Mehmed Ejubovic, 18 years old. Mehmed Ejubovic, 46 years old. Mehmedaliya Ejubovic, 52 years old. Meho Ejubovic, 42 years old. Mevlid Ejubovic, 23 years old. Munib Ejubovic, 56 years old. Osman Ejubovic, 70 years old. Samir Ejubovic, 22 years old. Suljo Ejubovic, 55 years old. Daud Emkic, 59 years old. Elvedin Emkic, 16 years old. Hasan Emkic, 27 years old. Ibrahim Emkic, 41 years old. Nasib Emkic, 32 years old. Nazir Emkic, 26 years old. Nazir Emkic, 57 years old. Mujo Esmic, 55 years old. Rešid Fazlic, 64 years old. Cemal Ferhatovic, 22 years old. Reja Fehric, 39 years old. Adil Fezic, 23 years old. Ahma Fezic, 54 years old. Avda Fezic, 40 years old. Fadil Fezic, 29 years old. Hasan Fezic, 73 years old. Hussein Fezic, 45 years old. Hussein Fezic, 58 years old. Ismet Fezic, 24 years old. Ismet Fezic, 53 years old. Mujo Fezic, 34 years old. Munib Fezic, 38 years old. Mustafa Fezic, 36 years old. Nazif Fezic, 46 years old. Nesib Fezic, 34 years old. Niyazia Fezic, 48 years old. Nurif Fezic, 46 years old. Nuria Fezic, 28 years old. Osman Fezic, 33 years old. Ramiz Fezic, 25 years old. Rama Fezic, 45 years old. Rauf Fezic, 20 years old. Riyad Fezic, 18 years old. Shaban Fezic, 43 years old. Sabit Fezic, 27 years old. Shachir Fezic, 41 years old. Safet Fezic, 17 years old. Safet Fezic, 44 years old. Safet Fezic, 44 years old. Sakib Fezic, 39 years old. Salim Fezic, 24 years old. Sead Fezic, 20 years old. Senad Fezic, 19 years old. Smail Fezic, 59 years old. Zule Fezic, 32 years old. Hilmo Ferhat Begovic, 66 years old. Ahmo Ferhatovic, 25 years old. Mevludin Ferhatovic, 23 years old. Miralem Ferhatovic, 75 years old. Ramo Ferhatovic, 27 years old. Enis Feric, 55 years old. Nermin Feric, 15 years old. Selman Fržina, 36 years old. Abdullah Kabelic, 36 years old. Abdullah Kabelic, 42 years old.